Hello and welcome into another edition of the Great Eight Rankings. Nolan Knight here alongside Madeline Frentress. Week 6 of the high school football season is here, which means that we're past the halfway point for some schools. A lot of teams have already played their 5th game. Playoffs are on the horizon already.
Yeah, it's gone by way too fast for my liking. It's going to be basketball season before we know it.
Yeah, and obviously, if we want to jump into this next week, before we do that, we got to kind of talk a little bit about what happened last week. You were at our game of the week between Huguenot and Midlothian. We thought it was going to be this low-scoring battle, but what really it ended up being was Huguenot running away with it late and taking that one with ease. And you were on the sidelines for that one.
Yeah, we thought it was going to be kind of one of the best offenses visiting one of the best defenses, and the story kind of was that Midlothian's offense would they couldn't stay on the field. They would get a couple of good explosive plays going, and then they would get set back, and they'd have to punt. And Huguenot's offense was on the field for the majority of the game. I thought the time of possession, if you could see that stat, it would be very lopsided. So Midlothian's defense, I thought, did the best they kind of could, but when they were on the field most of the time, they just got tired, and kind of that allowed Huguenot to run away with it. So
take a look at some of the other scores from over the weekend. Benedictine got a huge win over St. Christopher's. That was kind of the other game that was nearly our game of the week, 35-21. This is currently sorted by the whole state, so it's going to be a little harder. Thomas Jefferson with the big win over Booker T, 61-0, and a couple of other scores I thought were notable from this past week. Louisa County dominated in their matchup, and we saw some other teams. Monacan got their first win of the year, for example. Dinwiddie remained undefeated with a 36-0 win. So a lot of the teams that we kind of had ranked and we thought were going to have a good week did. We didn't see a whole lot of upsets by any means. Really Huguenot taking down what at the time was our 8th ranked Midlothian team was really the big highlight of week 1. And let's go through, turn the clock back a bit and check out Madeline's recap from this past Friday night.
Our Week 5 8Sports Blitz game of the week, but tonight it was the Falcons who looked the most comfortable on the field. All week we've been anticipating a battle of a matchup between Huguenot's offense and Midlothian's defense, but tonight the Falcons proved themselves on both sides of the ball. Huguenot was off to a hot start as quarterback Charles Scott fires across the field to Ivion Lewis. He breaks a tackle, he escapes another defender, and he's going to escape all the defenders for the touchdown, putting the Falcons up 6-0. Midlo can't answer, and it's another Falcons drive. Scott immediately throwing to his guy, and it's caught by Jamari Kane, who gets it in for the score, 13-0 Falcons. The Trojans had a few promising offensive plays like this short pass with plenty of yak, but they just weren't consistent and couldn't take it all the way. Then we got another Falcons drive, and it's a handoff to Markel Dabney. He's going to take it to the outside, turns on the jet, sidelines it to the house, making it 20-0 Falcons. The Falcons have the ball again, and Scott goes through his reads and airs it out. And it comes down caught in double coverage by Lewis, giving the Falcons a 28-point lead, and that's how the first half would end. The Trojans did get on the board with a touchdown in the third, but the Falcons played a true 4 quarters of football. The final of this one, 56-7. Your defense almost shut out this Midlo team. What do you have to say about the way they played?
Oh, they played great. I'm very proud of the guys. They see that the hard work that they're putting in during the week translate to Friday nights, and that makes them believers. So again, they're believing in themselves. They're believing in what we can do and what we can ultimately be.
And what do you have to say about the way your offense played?
For sure. Offense played lights out, played fast. We put a lot of points on the board. We want to score every drive. Obviously, we didn't. So we got some stuff to clean up, but we definitely played well tonight.
The Falcons continue to prove they're one of the best teams in the area after taking down previously undefeated Midlothian on homecoming. Reporting for 8 Sports, I'm Madeline Frentress.
Yeah, so there we go. Huge win for Huguenot as they take down Midlothian, who is our 8th ranked team. But however, they do not crack into our top 8 this week, mainly because we have so many teams still undefeated at this point in the season. You see here what we got going on. Why don't you take us through them, Madeline, and if I have any tad bits, I'll add them too.
All right, so first up, we got the Benedictine Cadets. They are 5-0. They haven't had a bye yet, and they have just remained our number 1. We've been on them since pretty much the beginning.
Yeah,
and
it's hard to deny what they were able to do early this season. I mean, you look at their schedule, and before Friday night when they were taking on St. Chris, who was ranked 7th in our rankings, they had only given up a field goal all season. So I've
that's
seen
nuts.
a couple of comments out there saying, how do you have Benedictine number 1? It's because they've been dominant both on the offensive side and the defensive side of the ball. St. Chris, a team that beat that Huguenot team that put up 50 points on Midlothian, is the only team that's been able to score on Benedictine this year. But they, of course, got a huge win over a ranked team last week, 35-21. That's why they're a number 1 team.
Yeah, they're staying there, I think. I don't see any reason why to take them off yet. So then for number 2, we have the Verina Blue Devils. They are 4-1. That loss, remember, it was in week 2 to remind me of the team's
one of the
name.
best teams in
Out
the
of
state, out of Norfolk Maury. They lost by
Yes.
by missing an extra point. That's
Exactly.
otherwise we're talking about a game that probably would have went into overtime. And they've just continued to roll. They took down Henrico this past week at home, 62-0. They get a little bit of a tougher matchup this week as they take on a Grimsley from North Carolina, who's 5-0 on the year. So that's a really tough task. Kind of a similar situation that Highland Springs likes to do, where they play all these teams from all over the place. They want to play the best of the best to be the best. We've seen that kind of bite Highland Springs a little bit because of the fact they've lost to 2 of those teams that are incredibly good. A team from North Carolina and a team from Norfolk area as well. But with that, Verina still number 2. They looking like by far the best team in 5A this year. It'll be interesting to see what happens at the end of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Then number 3, we have the Dinwiddie Generals. They are also 5-0. They have not had their bye yet, and they are staying at number 3 for now.
Yeah, they're rolling this year as well. Back-to-back shutouts for the Generals this past week. Went on the road to Matoaka, or rather they hosted Matoaka 36-0. The week before that, they took on Salem. Salem's a powerhouse in the Roanoke region for quite often. Took them down 42-0. Highland Springs did not lose to a team from the Norfolk area. My apologies. They lost to the Dinwiddie Generals 28-21. They've played some really good teams and beat them as well. And I would not be surprised if they finish the year undefeated. I mean, you see this Thomas Dale game coming up on October 17th. That'll be a big one. But Dinwiddie is rolling right now, coming in at our number 3 spot.
And then at number 4, we've had the same top 4 from last week. We have the Manchester Lancers, who, again, are 5-0, so no bye week yet. They played in a game of the week a couple of weeks back against a Glen Allen team that we also think is really good. They got the job done there. They've kind of stayed at number 4.
Yeah,
so.
this past week took care of business on the road at Cosby. A little bit of a slow start for Manchester against Cosby. We saw that against James River as well. They've had a couple of games where they started the year or the game out slow, and then by the second half, they start throwing the rock around, and you can't keep up with them. I mean, they've been really impressive. They are a number 4 ranked team. You kind of see what their schedule looks like here. Took care of Monacan. That Glen Allen game was our game of the week, 25-22. Took care of James River. And then this week, they have a really big game. This was almost a game of the week as they take on a Midlothian team that's only lost 1 game all season, that being last week to Huguenot. And then at the end of the year, you see that big matchup against Huguenot. Keep your eye out for that one if they can manage to beat Manchester, or rather Midlothian, on this Friday night.
Maybe a future game of the week.
It could possibly be. That looks like a good one.
Then at number 5, we have the Highland Springs Springers. They are 2-2, but those 2 losses, like we just mentioned earlier, one was to a North Carolina team that they build those into their schedule to make them better and to test them and to give them those kind of playoff atmospheres early in the season. And then, of course, they lost to the Dinwiddie Generals in one of our previous games of the week, and that was a great game there. So we have the Highland Springs
we
Springers.
obviously don't know a lot about Hogue or Hugh, or I apologize if I'm saying it wrong. I've never been to Cornelius, North Carolina, but they're 6-0 on the year. They're ranked 3rd in the state of North Carolina. That's who Highland Springs lost to by 3 points. They're 2-2, and
you see that 2-2, and
you're like, oh, why are they ranked? It's because they lost to our number 3 team, Dinwiddie, by a score, which went down to the wire. Did that game go into overtime? I think.
It wasn't that one, but Dinwiddie came back.
Yeah, it was back and
almost
forth
went to
game.
overtime.
Yeah.
It almost
and
went
then
to overtime.
Hogue, obviously, they lost by 3.
Yeah.
Took care of South County. They were on a bye last week, and they got another big test. We talk about how Highland Springs likes to test themselves. Well, they got a test this Thursday, actually, as they go to Phoebus, who's a powerhouse from I'm pretty sure it's Newport News, from Hampton, excuse me. The Phantoms have won a lot of state championships over the years in the state of Virginia. I would not be surprised if that's going to be another tough task for Lauren Johnson and the Springers.
Yeah, but they've still done well. Then at number 6, a newcomer, we have the Thomasdale Knights. At number 6, they are 4-0, so they've had their bye already last week. They were an honorable mention. They move up to number 6, and they are one of the teams in our game of the week this week that I'm sure we'll get into here in a minute.
Yeah, took care of business last week against Prince George, 35-7. Glen Allen, who's a really good team in the region, they're another one of those teams that have a couple of losses, but there's some really good teams. Glen Allen's lost to Thomasdale, and then, of course, the Manchester Lancers. And so the fact that Thomasdale's now ranked, I'm not all that surprised about. They've looked really good.
Yeah.
They've not given up more than 1 score in a game this season, and they're taking on a Meadowbrook team, which is, you guessed it, our game of the week this week, a battle of 2 unbeatens. Meadowbrook is not ranked inside our top 8, but they're right there as an honorable mention, and for good reason. You see the start to their season right here, 4-0 on the year, with some lopsided wins as well. Clover Hill 60-0, Kecoughtan 41-0, and then this past Thursday took down Hopewell 48-13. Deep Run had a great start to their season. They were managed to take care of their business there as well. So excited to see what happens on this Friday night. Since we're already kind of talking about this game of the week, you were out at both schools this week. What do they have to say about the upcoming game?
Yeah, so I learned that these coaches, they've actually coached together. So Kevin Tucker is the head coach of the Knights, and Meadowbrook's head coach, Billy Rudd, was the special teams coordinator at Thomasdale several years ago. He took a job at Monacan, and now he's head coach at his alma mater. So these coaches know each other very well, meaning they know, kind of what these teams are going to bring to the table. I think the Thomasdale, their kind of strength is their defense. They have played really well throughout, their 4 games, and then Meadowbrook's strength is going to be their offense. They are able to distribute the ball really well, get the ball in the hands of their playmakers. They both got some really great playmakers on both sides of the ball, so I think it's going to be a really great Central District kind of head-to-head this week. So.
Yeah, and we got some movement here at number 7, don't we?
Oh, yeah, we got the Trinity Titans at number 7 last week. They were sitting at number 6. They got moved down, but they are still 5-0 undefeated. Haven't had their bye yet.
I think deserves to be ranked. We kind of saw this game. We were, I think, both pretty high on Trinity going into last week. Their matchup on Saturday against Flint Hill, they got the win. Give them credit for, a win is a win, but they did struggle against a Flint Hill team that struggled this year. The Huskies only have 1 win this season, 45-28. I don't know if scoring 45 points, you want to call that struggling. But when you have teams like Thomasdale that's undefeated and rolling, and Highland Springs, who's Highland Springs, movement happens in rankings, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of just what happened.
You're still in the top 8, which is pretty dang good.
Exactly. Thank you. So that's what's going on with them. This week they took on Anacostia on Saturday, 2 o'clock game. And then the big matchup on the 17th, another big October 17th matchup, St. Chris versus Trinity. They got a gauntlet down the stretch. Glen Allen on the 24th, and then Benedictine to end the year on a Saturday. Looking at that slate is scary. We're going to find out if Trinity deserves to be ranked higher very quickly.
Yeah.
That's to say the least.
Absolutely. And then rounding out our rankings, we've got Louisa County as a newcomer in our rankings at number 8. They are 4-0. They have had their bye already last week. They were an honorable mention, so they got moved up. They have one of the best running backs in the country in Savion Hyder. So we got to show them love for that. And they've been playing great all season as well. Yeah,
absolutely. 2 newcomers this week to the top 8. I think Louisa County is deserving of this spot. If you look at their schedule, now granted, the district they play in is a little easier than some of the schools around the Richmond area have to play in. But looking at this, I would not be surprised at all if the Louisa County Lions finish the year 10-0. I mean, they're 4-0 right now. Took down they've had some close games against some teams that have struggled a little bit. That's why they're pretty low to be 4-0. But a win is a win. They took down Godwin 42-32 to start the year, and then this past week took down Fluvanna County 56-15. This week they're on the road at Charlottesville, and that's what rounds out our top 8 rankings.
And that number 8 spot was very troubling.
Yeah, I mean, you look at these guys these teams that we have left. On our honorable mention, Armstrong. They're undefeated to start the year, but they're a Class 2 school. And then you see Huguenot, who got a big win last week.
Huge win.
And maybe they should have that 8th spot, but they lost to St. Christopher's, who is at the honorable mention spot with only 1 loss. And they just lost last week. And then you have Meadowbrook, who's undefeated to start their season for the first time in forever. Hanover's undefeated to start their season as well. We got some good teams in the Central Virginia region, and making these lists. I mean, we were struggling through this.
8, we may have shot ourselves in the foot with 8. A lot of these teams deserve the love. So
big congratulations to all these teams for being ranked this week. Be sure to tune in to 8 Sports tomorrow at 6 o'clock for Madeline's preview of our 8 Sports Blitz game of the week between Thomas Dale and Meadowbrook, which will be taking the place at the home of the Monarchs. Probably the biggest game to take place at Meadowbrook since 2011, which was the last time they started the year this well. So history is being made for the Monarchs. If they can win again on Friday night, look out. I mean,
look out for them.
It would be a historic start to the season for Meadowbrook. Whereas Thomas Dale, they're a team that, kind of had a lackluster season last year and thought they could have been better. Well, look, here they are undefeated in week 6. So exciting time of year. Thanks so much for swinging by this week's edition of the Great 8 Rankings. And we'll finish things off the same way we always do with the week 5 top lights. Enjoy it, guys. We'll see you next week for week number 7. Wow, playoffs right around the corner already.